with them and see who can do what, when, and so forth simply is too much.
Right.
We have somebody whose main job is actually to do all that work. However, the intendant, the CEO, the general manager, is somebody who's entrusted with, in the primary sense, of making the first stab at next year's season or the future season's planning. And that's done in a general committee with the music director himself. The intendant also works on that, and our 2 orchestra representatives in the executive committee. We'll thrash out the bones of a season with the availability, based on availability, based on programming themes and directions we want to go. And at some point when it's fairly well advanced, it's presented to the orchestra. If we really get our backs up and decide that we don't like the direction things are going, then it'll be raised in an orchestra meeting.
Does that mean you might veto a particular or raise questions about a particular choice of conductor?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yes. And it must happen from time to time that you find yourself with a conductor up there on the podium who is not what you would like a conductor to be. What then happens? It is unfortunately common, and you know this very well, I'm sure, among American orchestras, to, under that circumstance, perhaps not play well because you just don't feel motivated, or to refuse to play well because you feel insulted or aggrieved.
Yes. We can't afford that. We have to sound good all the time.
Well, you could make the same point, as anybody listening to me here, about American orchestras, which can't afford to sound bad, but you really take this seriously.
Not only we take it, I mean, I recommend that for everybody. Making yourself deliberately sound anything less than 100% is shooting yourself right in the head.
And especially, you might say, in a circumstance as now, where the future of orchestras is called into question.
You can't go with your cap out asking for money without delivering an absolute gold standard product in the first place. And anything
so
at all.
So then what do you all do when you find yourself under the control of a conductor who is not what you would like?
We save the concert.
You save the concert.
We save his ass.
Mm-hmm.
And then we, very quickly after the concert, when he's gone on his way, make sure he doesn't come back.
Mm-hmm. But you play as well as you possibly can under the circumstances.
Absolutely. And it's much harder.
And it's much harder, of course it is. Of course it is. What happens if a conductor wants to do something musically that all of you are not certain about?
Then it's again a bit of giving in. You see, a guest conductor in our situation it's a rare guest conductor who insists on a way of playing or an idea which we won't accept. They're just simply, most of them, too clever to run straight onto an open knife, of trying to have a confrontation with our orchestra on issues like that. Once that we've established a trusting relationship with our favorite conductors, then we're much more open and predisposed to entertain their ideas, even if we think they're, oh, dear old friend, I mean, we love what you do, but today that's a cracked idea, I tell you, but well, we'll try it for once just to see. We'll be much more flexible in that way. But with an unknown conductor, a hitherto unknown conductor for us, or a younger fellow, or now increasingly there's some women now conducting and getting to the big podiums of the world, it's far more an issue of whether we can understand what they want, whether we hold it to be valid or not, and if it is an invalid concept or a suicidal concept or whatever, then sometimes in performance we will simply bend it the other way and do it in a way that is more conducive to our style, more representative of our traditions and style, and we'll actually prevent that conductor from landing on the hard floor without a net. We'll spin a security net under them.
And then are there also discussions at rehearsal? A conductor says, here I would like an extraordinarily strong ritardando here, something greater than you may ever have played before, and you all say, but we don't see the need for that, we're not comfortable. No, that may be an extreme example.
I understand. We're more open-minded than that. We would try these things out and then say, well, if that crazy idea in the audience is torn apart by the critics later, we say, well, that was his idea, not ours.
Oh, would you say that in public? Would you let that be known?
I think we don't have to.
Yeah, because people would assume it was the conductors.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you have a cooperative system in rehearsals where one of you may suggest an interpretive idea that had not come up yet?
Very much so. Balancing issues, saying, I'm sorry, I don't want to play this more than this level of piano, and I have the feeling I'm not coming through because, sorry, I feel my colleagues are all too loud. The music director or the conductor at the time might say, all right, in deference to the soloist at that point, everyone just back off.
Sure, but something on a little bit of a larger musical level, let's say although still kind of elementary, the climax is not coming in the right place here.
Oh, that's a structural issue which is usually fairly clear to everybody. Although there can be, I think of a case in point that is relevant on our tour right now. There's a work on for one of the concerts coming up here at Carnegie Hall. We're doing the Grand Partita for winds, so the big wind serenade from Mozart. And there is an open issue in one of the phrases of whether the emphasis comes at the beginning of the bar or the middle of the bar. Where does it peak? And in this case, we were among ourselves. We were not unified, and Simon Rattle was asked. And he said, well, if you want my opinion, it's the middle of the bar. And so we do it in the middle of the bar. That was a case where we weren't able to convince ourselves, in fact.
Right, and he served as the referee.
Yeah, he's actually standing out in front conducting the piece too, which is very unusual. It's only 13 players.
Really? And so sometimes it might happen that you suggest something that the conductor, him or herself, had never heard of.
Yes, and then we get into conference together. He will sit down with any one or all of the players involved and simply argue or discuss. And he'll give his reasons for why and his research and so forth. And in a case like Simon Rattle, he has done so much preparation. His reasons for everything he does are really very profound and very convincing.
And of course you knew that before you voted for him to be the music director.
Yes.
Because you had some experience with him. So now let me throw you a tremendous softball question. You like this, the way it works out musically. You get a lot of satisfaction from it.
Does softball mean yes?
Softball means that ought to be an easy question to answer.
It is an easy question, and the answer is yes. I pinch myself in every concert after 20 years. I still can't believe I'm having as much fun as I am.
This, I suppose I'm maybe not supposed to editorialize my position here, but I think it should be obvious to people from the American orchestra world who may be watching this that this is not the kind of thing that American orchestra musicians say to themselves after every concert. It is unfortunately not.
I remember that, yes.
You remember that because you were here.
Yeah, that's why I left.
Turning to a different kind of question. Does the Berlin Philharmonic feel itself threatened by the forces that are affecting classical music apparently worldwide? Diminishing audience, increasing difficulty of finding financial support, aging audience?
Threatened is a word I find a bit too draconian. But responding to, yes, we are, like everyone else, concerned about the shifting tectonic plates. We are fully cognizant of our very privileged position. We are uniquely in the world enjoying a level of financial support and security that almost no other orchestra in the world enjoys. We have a brand name, value and impact which is rivaled only by the Vienna Philharmonic. So we have extreme advantages compared with all the other orchestras in the world. And we are very cognizant of that and very, very grateful for it. But nonetheless, enjoying this privileged position as we do, we are nonetheless concerned that we want to maintain that position as long and as far as possible, which means we have to look at exactly the same elements that are moving around and are so threatening, particularly in America, to so many of our American colleagues.
I would say that threatened is an accurate word for many situations here in the United States, that people can see the handwriting on the wall. They can project financial and ticket sales trends into the future and see themselves in a particularly bad place, for example, as measured by a continually increasing deficit. But I gather that this is not the case with you all?
Oh, yes. Again, Berlin, we've got a balanced budget. We are doing very well. In fact, we've managed to increase our revenues for the time being. May that continue. But the hitherto guarantee of public subsidy from the government, which is actually mandated by the Constitution, has been in place for roughly 50 years, since the founding of the German Federal Republic in 1950.